Hello, everybody. It's George from Ireland. So, welcome back to my channel. Anyway, so some gladsome tidings from the United Kingdom today, and that's Anjem Choudhary is going to be getting free accommodation, free meals for a very long time. Mr. Choudhary, in his mugshot, looking uncharacteristically melancholy. He was always ebullient, cheeky, just reveling in his notoriety when it's on television, but he's been proved to have been the doyen of al muhajirun. Methinks it translates as the exiles, and so he's been awarded a life sentence. It's possible that the only way he's getting out of jail is in a box. So he was known for his hateful preachments. He was an outcast within the Muslim community. Unfortunately, he did have a small number of followers. So he's breached the terror laws of the United Kingdom on numerous occasions. He'll be unable even to apply for a license to be released from prison until he's over the age of 85. So he's going to serve at least 28 years. Woolwich Crown Court that has handed down the sentence today as Mr. Chowdhury supposedly registered the horror and seemed aghast because he'd got away with this for so long. He's been a fixture on British television for about 30 years. But this involved an international investigation with the law enforcement in Canada, in the United States, and indeed the United Kingdom investigating him. Mr. Justice Wall was the judge who awarded him this sentence. I know award seems a curiously ironic word in this case. But I dislike the way that we besmirch the use of the word radical. Radical didn't mean evil or criminal or something like that. Many people were proud to call themselves radicals, especially leftists. You know, Tony Benn, he even published his autobiography, or was a volume of diaries, Free Radical. I remember as a schoolboy in the 90s, I did read some of his diaries, and not particular that one. So radical doesn't have to be a bad thing, but unfortunately it's undergone pejoration. Um, anyway, he wanted to impose Sharia law in and abroad. Al Muhajirun was long since prescribed, and he sought to convince people to join it under another guise, people in Canada and the United States. Now, I am queasy about banning organizations. Sometimes, okay, something it really is a terrorist organization, is a criminal conspiracy, but otherwise, just because they have controversial, unpopular, maybe repugnant views, I'd be very reluctant to ban people because that is incipient totalitarianism. That is the first way on the road to that. It might start with a good idea, and that's how totalitarian regimes start, branding things so-called extremist. Even if they are, that doesn't mean in itself it should be outlawed. What about freedom of association and free expression? But obviously he's obviously gone beyond that to encouraging violence. So that's incitement, and all right, that's illegal. Even I agree that should definitely be illegal. He hasn't done it once or twice, or in a trifling way. He hasn't then slapped somebody's face or smashed somebody's windows. He said commit murder. Um, so he was trying to reanimate this organization in 2021. He'd just been released from a 5.5-year sentence when he'd encouraged his disciples to give aid and comfort to the Islamic State in Syria and was it in Iraq and al-Shams, to go and fight there. Okay, so once he was released, he began discoursing online with his acolytes across the Atlantic. And that's why his group was infiltrated by officers from the US security services, likewise the Canadians, and recorded him without his knowledge. So they use a cover name, the Islamic Thinker Society. So he really is rebarbative. Anyway, so that's why he's been sent down, and he was the mastermind of this. He'd set up groups of this in Birmingham and likewise. So the sort of people who would be a real danger to most of the Muslims in the United Kingdom, women who don't want to wear a hijab, any Muslim who does or doesn't keep halal or whatever, doesn't pray 5 times a day, would oppose a very heavily oppressive regime, something tantamount to the Taliban there. So Anjem Choudhary, he's born in the United Kingdom. Don't know exactly what his ethnicity is. It doesn't really matter. He's the person responsible, not people of his ethnicity and not people of his religion, say. Muslims are the main victims of people like Al Qaeda and ISIS. Um, and he briefly went to Southampton University. He was going to read medicine. He switched to law. I think he graduated in that, but didn't qualify as a solicitor or barrister. He taught English as a foreign language for one of the 90s. He's married, he's got several children, and has mostly raised them on benefits. So he's been the very public face of Islamism for decades. So he has a certain affability. He likes a wisecrack. He would run rings around interviewers. He would always go up to the line, was cunning enough not to go over the line, usually in encouraging terrorism. I remember one online interview he did with some people in the United States, Elliot Spitzer, and I can't remember what he said, but Spitzer said, "Oh, well, we've caught you now because he had said something which has somehow encouraged me to join Al Qaeda." I don't remember exactly what the verbal formulation was, but no prosecution from the United States was forthcoming at that time. Now, my question to the British authorities is, what took you so long? I mean, 3 years later, he's finally been sent down. I mean, I know, we should be glad that we're reluctant send people to prison. It's not maybe the first resort and so on. But he's been at this sort of thing for about 30 years, and it's had real consequences. People being murdered in the United Kingdom and overseas. We say, oh, what about Western foreign policy, which can be scrutinized, indeed castigated, but none of that's justificatory of what he's getting up to. In a democracy, he had all sorts of peaceful and legal means of advancing his cause, of saying things, very contentious things, which he often did, which were not unlawful, which didn't encourage violence or joining a terrorist organization, protests with placards, chanting slogans or whatever, demonstrations, petitions, standing for parliament. But he largely eschewed these peaceful and democratic means of effectuating the changes he wished to see. So I'm very glad he's been sent down. Now, he is, I suppose, the Muslim version of Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson, so far as I know, hasn't actually preached violence. No, he's committed it. But I would like Anjem Choudhary and Tommy Robinson sharing a cell. It would have the last laugh on both of them. And so these people, they actually are each other's allies in a way, because what Anjem Choudhary does is it plays into the hands of the white supremacists. Maybe he knows that they want to polarize society. And Tommy Robinson, what he does by making Muslims feel scared, feel persecuted, and so on, feel furious, want to riposte, some naive, gullible young Muslims might become prey to someone like Anjem Choudhary. What Choudhary would say would strike a chord with some of these people, and they'd be very vulnerable to recruitment by his despicable ideology. So that's why it's difficult for the centre ground to hold. Now, I don't always believe in moderation. Sometimes it is right to be hard line. Moderation is not necessarily the right position, but I certainly don't want hatred towards any ethnicity or religion. I mean, I could have been born in a Muslim family, brought up believing Islam. I'd still be the same person. There's no harm in subscribing to the 5 pillars of Islam, or praying in the direction of Mecca, or eschewing pork or alcohol or things like that. Or women want to wear hijabs. I certainly wouldn't question a woman's right to do so. That doesn't make this person a bad person at all. Doesn't automatically make the person virtuous either. So it's ignorance, malice, hatred, and spite that actuates people like Tommy Robinson and his Muslim equivalent, Anjem Choudhary. So I'm very glad that both of them are going to pay the price for the horrendous harm they've wrought on British society. Anyway, thank you so much for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe to my channel on Patreon, and donate with a normal morality on PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com. Toodle pip.